First of all, just gut check, stop. Anyone who's using the term surge around you consciously is trying to invoke a militaristic frame. This is not a surge. These are children, and they are not insurgents, and we are not being invaded.
Yeah, well, I would have to disagree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We are being invaded. When you have hundreds of thousands of people coming over every month, set to reach 1 million this year, that is an invasion. And of course, everybody looks at those images from these detention facilities and feels very badly for those individuals. Nobody would want to be in that position. But I will tell you this, because I have visited those facilities. I have spent a lot of time with Border Patrol agents and those that are really tasked with their care. I know these images look bad. I know that that's not what anybody wants to see. But you have to understand, Border Patrol agents are being overwhelmed right now. They're being relegated to babysitters. They're not able to do their actual jobs, and they're doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. So we need to come together as a nation and decide how we're going to get Border Patrol better resources. But as John James said at the top of this block, what we really need to be doing is stop incentivizing people to come over here. These are children. Yes, they are, absolutely. They're innocent children, but they're being incentivized to come over here. Their parents are sending them over here. They know that they will only be held for a certain amount of days, possibly move to a convention center, be given schooling, housing, and then they'll be released into the shadows, and then eventually the parents will be allowed to come right along with them if they're not already in this country. So we have to stop incentivizing it. But I will disagree with some of the points that were made as far as that nobody has tackled this problem. Donald J. Trump tackled this problem. His zero tolerance policy, his policy that said, do not come over here. If you do not want to be separated, do not cross that border illegally. Do not come. We are building a wall. We are taking immigration seriously. We have every right to protect and defend the integrity of our border. That was working. Then the Biden administration came in with their virtue signaling and threw that all away. And now everybody suffers. The migrant children suffer. The American taxpayer suffers. And we're in this dilemma that has no end in sight. But it has to start with securing the border. Jillian, your floor.
So, first of all, I would say if President Biden woke up tomorrow and did what every Republican lawmaker and every Trump supporter wants him to do, which is to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, what would happen to the tens of thousands of children in particular, families, but unaccompanied minors most specifically, who would then be left on the Mexico side of the U.S. southern border? I understand opposition to Biden administration policies. I hear them loud and clear. But my question for a lot of people who are sort of critiquing the situation right now is there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, but we always have to accept reality for what it is. The Biden administration has reversed the Remain in Mexico policy. So what happens now if you refuse to admit thousands of unaccompanied minors into the United States? Do they live happily ever after, or are they now stranded on the Mexico side of the U.S. southern border and become more vulnerable to sex traffickers and coyotes and the cartels? What people need to, I think this is, obviously Shannon would never pretend to speak to you, to speak for you, but I think this is what you were getting at when you were talking about we need solutions. We need less critique and more accepting of the reality and people getting on board to try and figure out solutions. Because as Tomi says, this is not just about those migrants. This is about the health and well-being of all Americans, too. So I'd like to hear some more people putting their heads together to the problem instead of just complaining about it all the time.
Well, hopefully the bridge between candidate Kamala Harris and Vice President Kamala Harris becomes crossable, and she should find some of those solutions now that she's in charge of the whole thing, of course, starting with diplomacy. We will not hold our breath.